You ready? Let's go. We're here, folks. We're live. Ben's going to take over while I send you all the link and all that jazz.
Yeah, he's got to do his admin before we step into a little bit of conversation. But, you know, like always, Lockdown Live here, coming at you to the boys and girls, gentlemen and ladies. And like always, we set this off with a little bit of energy. So wherever you are watching this now, locked in and watching, let us know where you're from. If not, replay, do the same. But at the same time, we've got a special guest, an absolute savage of a man, legend. Jay's in the house. He's going to talk about some resilience. And, you know, we're talking about habits. It's a common theme the last couple of weeks with the stuff that we've been talking about, because most of the issues that we have, you know, if you source it to the source, it's usually habits. But it's a pleasure to have my man on right now. And this is going to be a real intense hour. So fasten your seatbelt and let's dive straight in. Si, we ready to rock and roll?
Yeah. Can you see the comments, you guys? Ever?
No.
Nah, we've got loads in. If you're locking in, guys, say hello. Everyone's actually figured out how to go, how to have your name on the screen, which is amazing. And I can actually click your name and stick you up there. So I know Anne. Anne's from actually up your way. By your way, I mean she's from the same country as you, Jay. But
I know.
But I can put it up. Look at that. Waterford. Is Waterford anywhere near you, Jay?
It's down the road.
Down the road.
I wonder, does she know Gan Power? He's from Waterford. Ask her there.
Is he really?
Yeah, remember Gan?
Gan Power. Do you know him? Is he related?
There can't be that many powers down there.
There can't be. What's up, folks? Zara, what's up? Guys, a load of you're rocking in. So we're going to be about 30, 40 minutes. Not a massively long one today, because I know Jay's busy on with his time, and so is Ben. Ben has got a lot on, and also so have I. So you have subtitles. I don't know how you all have subtitles. I have no idea how you have. If they can subtitle this conversation, this may be the greatest bit of subtitling I've ever seen.
It's voodoo magic.
If you can subtitle a farmer, someone from Ireland, and someone from Manchester, all in one theme,
that's some special piece of kit. That's some advancement in technology.
Do you know what? The biggest bit of stick I get on a live video is, here's that kid with the annoying voice again.
Hey, sounds like a bad joke. A farmer, an Irishman, and a man from Manchester sat in a bar. Yeah. Just what would you say next to that?
They were all 2 years apart.
So, folks, here's a crack. Today we got Jay on. Jay's I'd say a good friend of mine. I'm in his mastermind. Him and a bloke called Sean McGarity, and they've probably been certainly one of the best investments I've ever made to my business, life, everything else. But Jay's an interesting dude because, we're going to get into it. You've done some crazy stuff since I've known you, like crazy challenges and different things. And he's also just a fucking world-class coach. So one of the things me and Ben were talking about every week is we give you this shit to do, guys. Like we come on, we talk about something, we give you a habit. But how do you actually build a habit, right? How do you actually start a fucking habit is the main thing. A lot of people say to me, oh yeah, I get it, I know. But how the hell do I start a habit? So we're going to cover two things today with Jay, and I'm just going to have a bit of back and forth. We're going to give you something, hopefully, I know we will, that'll help you embed some habits.
Yep.
And the second thing is probably going to talk a little bit about resilience. So a question for everyone here, is who would benefit from being more consistent in anything, physically, mentally, emotionally? Who benefit from being more consistent? And secondly, who thinks they would benefit from having a bit more resilience? And please keep us updated on the subtitles, because I can't fucking wait for that. Cannot wait for that. Who would? And then I'll get in and I'll introduce Jay and we'll have a little chat. Because Jay, actually, I think I met you in Newcastle. But the thing I want to talk to you about, mate, is you've done Kokoro Camp, right?
Yep.
What is Kokoro Camp for anyone here?
Right. So listen, I'll give you a little bit of background. So there's this Navy SEAL commander in America. His name is Mark Devine. And when he finished up with the SEALs and he finished up doing all his service with those guys, he went off out into the big bad world of business, and he realized pretty quickly that he was a much better SEAL commander, whatever you want to call it, than he is a businessman, all right? But he said, listen, can I combine some business and the Navy SEAL type stuff? So he put together a training program for prospective SEALs. So anybody who wanted to get into one of the SEAL teams, because obviously, to train up somebody in the Navy SEALs or any special forces costs a lot of money, and most people don't get through the training. So if they could bring that up even a few percentage points, by giving the people skills before they get there, it was going to be a huge benefit. So he got a government contract. He started training up all these guys, and roll on a year or two was greatly successful. But a huge global company came in and kind of stole the contract out from underneath him. So after this, Mark turned around and he looked at what he was doing, and he kind of said, listen, everything I was doing there, I'm enjoying. It's benefiting people, but there's a lot of red tape when you're working with the government. So why don't I just do what I'm doing, but open it up to the public, open it up to people who aren't necessarily in the military? And that's where SEAL Kokora was born out of. And basically, Mark has a number of events, but SEAL Kokora is like the crucible, the main event that they run, which is a 50-hour, I suppose, you're out in the elements, you're exposed to the elements, and they put you through a grueling process where they're trying to break you down through a series of what they would call crucibles, or a series of events over the course of that 50 hours. And it's kind of a little bit like a last man standing event. We kind of say that, listen, it's a smaller version of like Hell Week or any of those kind of special forces type things.
So for people watching, Jay, like it's a bit like SAS Who Dares Wins, but for real.
It's like that, but for 50 hours on the go, no sleep. The only time you stop is to eat food, go to the toilet, and then you're back again.
You flew to America, and you flew out there, and there's the best. We have to save the best story to the end. Ben, I love this about what happened when you finished, but you flew out there for 50 hours to be put through physical, mental, and emotional torture, right? Why? I want to know why.
I suppose, look, a little bit of this comes down to, I'll give you a little bit of backstory. I was at an event in the UK, and a guy was up and he was speaking about this. He'd been through it and he failed it, and he went back and he tried to do it again, And I was kind of looking at this guy going, if he could do it, maybe I could do it. Roll on another maybe year, and we were look at like,
hang on a minute. Can you hear that question?
Yeah.
Does this every time?
Stopped. Oh.
Sorry, Ben.
So yeah, so going back to you'd be familiar with Garrett J. Why he's a coach in the US, and he'd kind of put his trainers through what he was talking about it. So it was in the mix again. I looked at it and said, I wonder, could I do that? And I kind of do that every now and again with things. I kind of look at something, and if I was to look at a mountain or a river, I might say to myself, I wonder if could I climb over that, or what's on the other side of that, or could I jump over that river? And I know it sounds a little bit silly, but this was one of those things. And a few little things came together and says, I'm going to give this a go. I'm going to train for this, and I'm going to do it.
Mental.
That was it.
How many people finish it, roughly, percentage-wise? They must have an idea.
It's usually about 10%. So, like, if 50 people started, about 5 people would finish.
And the thing is, guys, I want to put this. The reason I got Jay in here, and I know Ben's keen on this, to talk about this, is because you have to be pretty resilient to do that. And it's a little bit, I imagine you did it because you wanted to see what you're capable of. But 10% of, not just 10% of average people either, that sounds bad. Like, I couldn't just go do it now and be like, I'm going to have a fucking go at Kokora camp.
So, like
these are 50 people who've trained, like, for long. How long did you train for this?
So, about 18 months.
So you had to train for 18 months.
Like, they would turn around and say, if you're kind of thinking, right, what's the volume of training like? You would say it's like doing 2 Ironmans back to back. So it's like doing 2 Ironmans in 50 hours in terms of the training load that you put your body under. So again, there's certain things that you've got to be able to do before you get there. So you get there, they beast you for about 8 hours, and then it's like, all right, it's go time. Let's do the tests. So, I mean, if you haven't got that test and stuff nailed down, it's just not going to happen for you. So, again, for me, why I trained for so long, because I was getting ready for one, and I was up the mountains running, and I slipped and broke my wrist. So, it's like, had to wait till that mended, and then get going again. But I think most people who have a base level of fitness, like a good base level of fitness, you're talking 8 to 12 months to train for this.
8 to 12 months. Wow. And so I think you have to be pretty consistent. I remember following your training at the time. It was relentless all the time.
You're probably talking 15 hours a week, I'd say, minimum, to get ready for it.
And you've got a young family, haven't you?
Yeah. Now, in fairness, when I initially booked this, I don't think Kayana was born yet. And then, you know, over the course of those 18 months, I must have been busy. Little baby came along, you know, which obviously a bit of a spanner in the works, because trying to do all that training and look after a baby is not ideal. No.
And so you have to be consistent and you have to be pretty resilient. So I want to get this across before we go into the habit stuff, because I always like to get across. I mean, when Ben talks, Ben's done some great stuff. I think Ben was flipping British kickboxing champion or English kickboxing champion, something like that. I don't know what sport it was. You have to be consistent. You have to be resilient. How many people finished your Kokoro camp?
So on the one I done, there was like 15 people there started off. So there was a few people who were in the military, and there was like 2 or 3 guys who were getting ready to enter into the Navy SEALs. So it turned out only one finished. I was the last man standing, which was the first time that's ever happened. So what happened over the course of the event, you know, people start dropping off one by one, you know, and then we got to the stage where there's like 3 or 4 of us left. Then all of a sudden, another lad goes. Then you're looking, it's just you and one other guy. And it's like, I'm not fucking quitting. You know, he's looking at me going, he's not going to quit. But eventually this guy quit. And what happened, I was on my own for about, I'd say 15 or 20 hours. And then there was another event starting, which was like a mini event. It's a 20-hour event. And they threw me in with those guys. So I went through maybe 20 hours with them, and then or 15 hours with them, whatever it was. And then I had maybe 2 or 3 hours on my own again at the end, you know?
Mad. So I'm interested. Forget everyone else who's watching. I'm interested. What do you think? Why do you think some people quit? Because it wouldn't have been lack of physical fitness for a lot of them, would it?
No, it was nothing to do with physical. I think there's a few lessons you could take away from this. So again, like just to try and give people a bit of an idea, like literally the first few minutes of it was the craziest. All right. It's like you're literally looking around going, holy shit, I don't know, am I going to be able to stick this? It's like I've been here 10 minutes. So they bring you down to what's called a grinder. So everything that the Navy SEALs do and any military special forces, it's really about your mind. So do you know when you see on the movies, big, huge, muscly guys, veins, it's like those guys couldn't cut it because they're too big and bulky. And I mean, they wouldn't be able to survive out in the jungle. So the guys are actually, you know, they look more like, I suppose, a multi-sport athlete than a bodybuilder, like what you might see in the movies. So kind of wiry, strong guys. So the first thing they do, everybody's there, you know, and they just sit in a van looking at you. They must have looked at us for about half an hour. So everybody's like, what the hell is happening here? Everything is to try and mess with your mind. And then they jump out and they start looking at you. Everybody had the same clothes on. So like, this dude hasn't got a hat, this dude hasn't got a hat, press-ups, burpees, all that jazz. And then they march you down, you know, they run you down, and you're basically out in kind of like desert in California. So you run down and they bring you to this area. And when you get down there, it just opens up. And they call it the grinder. All right. So the grinder is where they're going to break you down and rebuild you. So when you get down there, there's just Navy SEALs everywhere. There's hoses, there's pull-up bars, there's tanks full of ice. And you're just looking going, like, what's going to happen here? And then all hell breaks loose. So they just start screaming at you, start screaming orders at you, down, up, left, right, left, right. And everybody has a kind of gun. They're trying to pull them off them, hide them, smashing you with water into the ice, out of the ice. And you're just like, what the hell is happening? And then you can kind of start to build into a little bit of a rhythm. But here's the thing that I think there's a few lessons that I could take away from this.
Yeah, I'm interested. What are your lessons you took from it? Give me a couple of lessons.
These things are important because they can carry over to real life. So I think the first and most important thing is when we talk about goals, all right? So you kind of said, why did you do it? Well, for me, I had 2 goals, all right? So I wanted to prove to myself that I was able to do it. But ultimately as well, I wanted to prove to other people that I was able to do it, all right? So within my internal, external motivation, so internal was important for me, external was important to the outside world. I set up competition. So I'll set up a competition between myself and every other person that was in there. So I'd look and say, I'm going to beat this guy. Now, ultimately, I can only do what I can do, but I'll use that. And then for me, when every guy was gone, all right, shit, it's like I have nobody else to compete against now. So what I had is, when I was leaving, my wife's mother handed me an Irish flag. And my whole thing was, listen, I'm going to stand at the end with this Irish flag and like be the last man standing type thing, or at least complete it. And in one way, it was like, listen, I've got all these people at home. I'm after telling them I'm going to do this thing. And if I came back and said, oh, I've done 48 hours, they'd be like, yeah, but was it not 50? So how do we put this over into the real world? I think for anybody watching this, if we're talking about any goals, you've got to have something which is important to you as an individual. But then you also have to have something which is important, I suppose, on a bigger picture. So, you know, somebody might want to lose weight, but really, why are you losing the weight? What is the other benefits that you're going to get at it? And have that kind of internal, external motivation going on.
Yeah, I love that. And we talk about it all the time. And I'll get Ben back on in a sec because he's back. But we talk about this all the time in Unbreakable. We'll say, you got to have a vision. With no vision of the future, you got to have a vision of the end.
Yeah.
You got to have a vision of what, and in that vision, the thing you really want is the essence of the vision. It's how you want to feel. It's that bigger buy-in, isn't it? More than just, I just want to finish this. There's more in that. And I think when we talk about motivation, people look at different accountability in that for motivation. And I know we've discussed this, but huge amount of lack of motivation just comes down to not being really clear and honest about what you want and why you want it. That's what I think. When I deal with people, it's like, you don't know what you want. You don't know why you want it. And you're lying about why you want it. You're protecting yourself. And that's why you don't have any motivation.
Yeah.
You got to get fucking clear on that.
And I think the clarity bit, like there's another lesson here as well, that the guy I mentioned at the beginning, Mark Devine, so he doesn't show up until, I think it was like the second night. So you're probably 35 hours in, 40 hours in or something like that. And all of a sudden the radios go off and it's like, Mark is on his way, Mark is on his way. And everybody's like, oh, fuck, here's Mark. So he pulls you over to one side, you know, and he doesn't even look at you. He's just standing like you're looking straight ahead and he's standing to your side and he just says, Kane, because you have a t-shirt on with your last name. Kane, why are you here? And I start going off into some monologue, you know, I'm the man and I've kids and I'm doing this and doing that. And he just turned around and looked at me and he says, less words, more impact. And walked away. So for you, what you're saying there for people, it's like we can articulate all these things. And, you know, I think people live in bullshit bubbles. Some people live in an ignorance bullshit bubble. I didn't know McDonald's was bad for me. Other people live in an intellectual bullshit bubble. It's like, you know, these talk all this crazy talk, and ultimately we're just hiding. So his idea of less words, more impact is basically get crystal clear on why you're here and what you want.
I love that. And I tell you what, I'll bring Ben back in now because I see he's back. But I tell you what, I say this sometimes with seminars, and I all get caught up. It's like, stop giving the seminar answer. Remember when we were at Warrior, and everyone was there for their family, and you think, I'm not. No, you are. No, don't tell me what I'm here for. Like I fucking know. It doesn't have to be just grand speech. Like that's not why I'm here. Okay. You've got to be crystal clear. Ben, I'm going to help you open up and see if your mic's better, mate. If it ain't, then that's going to be bad news, but we'll see.
How is that? How is it?
That seems all right. No, it's a bit cracky there.
Yeah, sounds like we're all bad beats to me. But if you can hear me all right, I'll carry on. I'm finding it hard to listen.
You're off, Simon. Simon, your sound's not on, my man.
Sorry, we'll keep you there, Ben, because otherwise we can't hear you. But stay there because we want you in the picture. Do you know what I mean? I want you in the picture. So less words, more impact.
I think another thing on that as well is, you know, sometimes we can get carried off into the future. And there was one bit in this, okay, where, again, we're about 25 hours in. I think there was about 4 or 5 guys left. And it was time, I think it was in the first night, it was time to go on a march. So they bring you a march, a 20-mile backpack march up this mountain in the dark. Now, they purposely give you the crappiest bags ever, so they're cutting into your shoulders. You've got sandbags in them, and it's just horrible. And every time you get to a corner, you think, this is the finish. And then you look around the corner, and all of a sudden, you've got more to do. So when you're in the dark, when you can't talk to people, when you're all on your own, your mind becomes a very tricky thing here. Your mind is saying to you, what the hell are you doing this for? Why are you here? Just turn around and say, I'm finished. They'll put you in a van and you can go and have a fucking cup of coffee and be in the warmth and out of the cold, and your feet aren't going to be sore. You're not going to be wet. All of this type of stuff. So in order to eliminate that, you've got to bring yourself right back into the moment. You can't even think about this big conceptual idea of, oh, I'm doing it for these reasons, because it gets too fruity, too flowerful. All right. And other thoughts start to creep in. So literally the only way I could stay in the moment for maybe 5 hours of constant walking up a mountain was count from 1 to 10. No joking. Every time I got to 10, I stopped and I started again. And you couldn't even count to 20 or 50 or 100 because your mind starts to wander again. 1 to 10. So every 1, 2, 3, up to 10, start again. And literally done that for 4 hours.
And also, you can't count much above 10, can you? I heard.
Oh, man, it gets difficult after that.
It gets difficult after 10, so you kept up 10. Yeah. So one thing I'd say about this is, you think, well, I did a live on this the other week. I think everyone would get this. What Jay's saying is, like, you got to have that vision. That's important. But then if you live in there all the time, a lot of people spend so much time thinking about what they want, it becomes, they start to feel the lack of it real bad. Do you know what I mean? And that's the same with that, isn't it? You know what you want to be at the end, but if you're constantly thinking about it and you're experiencing this hardship now, it actually becomes more detrimental. You got to have that vision, then you got to take care. What I'm hearing is take care of today, like, because life is lived in front of us in that moment, and you've got to join in. Like, I love visualization, I love that stuff. That's what we're about. But then you got to learn to go, okay, that's what I'm after. I've got to detach from that and take care of today. Be the best I can in this moment. You're walking up a massive hill, counting to 10, keeping yourself in the now. You know why you're there. But for day to day, that's the same. You may have a big vision, and I'd encourage anyone to have a big something to work towards. But then you've got to take care of today, the moment, and do the best you can now, haven't you? Rather than getting caught up. I find people put loads of energy in what they want, and for a lot, and coaches do it. They make people really accountable to what, and it just makes people feel worse because they just think, I just haven't got it. It's more, all I'm experiencing is the lack of it now.
Yeah, well, ultimately, you know, listen, we're all on a journey, and you're at a journey to get to this destination. You're at a journey to get to this vision. But the only way to get there is through action now. Yeah. So we're not taking the action. This is what happens to people. Within thinking about the future, they start procrastinating. They start putting it off. They start saying, you know, I'll do it next week. I'll do it tomorrow, or worrying about it too much. And then that worry leads into procrastination or putting it off. So it's about action and it's about doing things. And I think another important kind of thing here, there's probably two major points. And I think they kind of fit right well into how we're living our life today, is this idea of false finishes. So everything that they do, they put in a false finish. So you know yourself, when we feel like we're getting closer to a goal, we start to push ourselves a little bit more. All right. If you're out for a run and you're going slow, and then all of a sudden you see the finish line, you start to hurry up. Well, within that hurrying up, you expend more energy. This could be physical or emotional or mental energy. And then all of a sudden your batteries are drained a little bit. If you're told you have to run again, that's where a lot of people haven't got the resilience to turn around and pick themselves back up again and go again, because they're like, that's not fair. You said that was the finish line. So they use physical tasks to put yourself into this physical, emotional, mental state where they bring you to a point where you're nearly broken and then tell you to go again. And again, we think here, you know, the government might come on and say, it's 2 more weeks. And we're not 2 weeks. It's 2 more weeks. And they've done that a few times now. And again, a lot of people who haven't built in as much physical, mental, or emotional resilience kind of are starting to break down now a little bit. And it's really starting to show in people, you know?
Yeah, I think so. And again, it's applicable to any goal. I think if you're relying on the end of the journey to be where you feel all the amazing, I'll be happy when this happens, I'll be relaxed when this happens, oh, but when I get there, everything's going to be better. The nature of human life is, even then, you get there and you set your own new goalposts anyway.
Yeah.
You get there and you go, oh, what's next? Yeah. There's no happy end to an unhappy journey.
No.
That's what you've got to get back in that moment again. Imagine if you pinned all your hopes on that corner being the finish line. It's not. It demoralizes people. I thought I'd feel amazing when I got here, and I don't feel any different.
I think as well, a big problem is people seeing things as a finish line. You know, even no matter what our goal is, it's like we think, you know, if we put success on the cognitive horizon, it's like, I'll be happy when I get to here. And then you get to there and you look around, it's like there's always somewhere else to go. So again, back to being in the moment again. It's like, well, listen, if you're not happy on the journey, you're not going to be happy when you get to the destination. And that's everything, whether it's a relationship, money, anything.
Yeah, and a lot of people will sit there and go, yeah, but I'm in a shit place. There has to be a happy ending to this. And I've helped many people in that, hundreds of people in that situation. And it's like, yeah, I get exactly what you're saying. But the ending don't get any happier if now you don't get a little bit happier.
Look, I'll give you a real life scenario here, okay? I was talking to someone on email and I said, listen, sorry, they sent me an email on Friday. I said, I got back to them on Monday. I said, sorry, I was at a funeral on the weekend, literally just the weekend gone. It's a bit of a surreal experience being at a funeral. You know, everybody has to sit apart. There's only 10 people allowed into the church, all of this type of stuff, you know? And she answered me back and she goes, yeah, tell me about it. My husband is just out of hospital. He got a triple bypass and he's being diagnosed with skin cancer. I was walking down the road yesterday with Eilish going for a walk. And as I was telling her this story, a man came by me in a wheelchair with no arms and no legs. And I was like kind of feeling a little sorry for myself, you know, because I was at a funeral and all this type of stuff. Then this woman comes back and she's like, well, look at all this stuff that happens to me. And as I'm saying that, this man is coming back. And it's not that I felt sorry for him or I should feel sorry for him. But what I am doing is looking at his situation and saying, how much more difficult is his life than what my life is just because of some of his physical limitations? Dude was smiling. He was happy. And here's me, you know, giving out. So yeah, it comes down to, you know, it's not the situation we're in anybody, in any shape or form. It's our reaction to the situation, I think, is the most important thing.
Oh, always. And if you want to experience a better future, we have to do it. We have to start shifting that way now. That's the key thing. People, you know, the future is created now. I will say to people, I had a Q&A last night in the 7 days. Some of them were there, and somebody was asking me about different situations, grief and stuff. I was like, look, everyone, no one's going to jump the emotional spectrum from unhappy to happy in one moment, because your mind can't reach to those thoughts. It can't go from, you can't experience the emotion of, I don't know, anger and then believe really calming thoughts. Like your body doesn't absorb that, your brain doesn't absorb information that way. You can only ever reach to the next best thought, which may be slightly less angry, a bit more frustrated. And so our job is only ever to inch around to feeling a little bit better. But the future does not get better if now does not get slightly better. And there's a big difference between better and good.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be good now, but if everyone can feel a bit better, and if you can shift to a bit better and do that consistently, you do end up in a way better place. I hope that makes sense for everyone listening, because that made me think of that. But mate, that's class. So if we were to cover two things, number one, maybe you've covered 2 points, but did you say you had one more? Did you have one more lesson from that? I don't know.
Yeah, listen, there's one more left in there, and it's this idea of the 80-20. All right, so when people talk about 80-20, usually they're thinking Pareto principle and this type of thing. But in this particular context, it's like when you feel like, listen, I'm 80% done, I can't do any more, I'm 100% done, you're only really 20% done on a physical sense, and therefore on a mental sense. And it's like, it comes back to this idea of hardship. If the hardest thing you've ever done in your life is like, you know, a workout in a boot camp for a half an hour, that's the hardest physical task you've ever done. Well, I mean, that's going to feel hard. But if you went and you done something for 2 hours, that half an hour now seems easy. If the hardest thing you have to do is decide, I mean, what color socks you're going to put on in the morning, and then all of a sudden you move on and one of your children is sick and you get over that, and you know, the family comes through it, all of a sudden socks don't matter anymore. So this idea of, you know, I think exposing ourselves to stress is going to be super important, and then being able to overcome that stress.
I like that. And I've got to say this, guys, because Jay told me this story which fucking cracked me up. So it's in Arizona, right? And then we'll get into some practical habit stuff. Is it in Arizona?
California.
California.
Yeah.
So it's baking hot, right?
Oh, roasting, man.
Yeah. And baking hot. Jay's flown all the way out from Ireland. Was it a straight flight? Like, what was it?
Where did we go? London, then from London over to LAX.
So he's over to LA, gets in his hotel, and I'm going to tell this first bit. He puts himself through like the most physically demanding thing I have known anyone to do. That is demanding. That isn't like everyone gets a certificate when you finish kind of thing. This is like we're fucking for real here. We're qualifying people for the Navy SEALs, like kind of thing. Like, this is real. Yeah. It's not like, let's everyone win. So you do all that. You're on your own for all them hours. You're sunburnt, no doubt. You're fucking covered in mud. You finish. What happens? Tell me what happens. You've got this big moment in your life. You've finished on your own. It's the best. Oh my God, look what I've done. I've trained for 18 months. Oh, go me. What happens?
What are you talking about now? Because this could be a few things. So I'm not sure where you're leading me with this stuff.
They told me they just looked at you and went, yeah, good job.
So what happens is, so at the stage, they bring you off, when you're finished, they bring you down to a riverbed, all right? So just before you finish, they bring you down to a riverbed. They say to you, Kane, go over there and pick up a rock which represents your willpower. Now, don't pick up one too small because that's not truly you, but don't pick up one too big because that's like your ego speaking. So it goes over and gets this rock and I'm fucking, carrying it back. Is like, what do you think of this rock? They're like, yeah, that's a good rock. Let's go. The fucker just starts walking off up the mountains and I have to follow him. So I'm following him, and it fucking goes up and I start saying to the other dude, I was like, I'm getting pissed off now. I'm going to go home. Like, this is starting to annoy me. So about an hour and a half later, fucking get back and they do a big speech, good man Kane. And he goes, okay, everybody in together. So I'm left off standing, hanging off to the side here. There's about 18 of these Navy SEAL dudes all get around the huddle. They have a little huddle and then they bring me into the middle. And I'm expecting fireworks to go off. I'm expecting dancing ladies. It's like, fuck me, look at me. I'm after completing this all on my own. And they all just kind of look at me and it's like, is anybody anything they want to say to Kane? And they just looked at me. Nah, not really. Handed me a fucking little coin and a badge, give me a pat on the shoulder and says, well done. That was it. I'm standing there in the desert going, how the fuck am I meant to get home? They all ran off. Looking around going, what's going on? But again, I think why I have so much respect for these type of people, I don't necessarily respect the military and flying off halfway across the world and getting in wars. That's a different kettle of fish. But I do respect the work that these people do, them as individual human beings. It's like, again, they're looking at that 50 hours, right? And it's, it was tough and it was hard, but they're dropped out of a fucking helicopter somewhere and like told, listen, we'll be back here in 3 weeks, like, don't die.
Yeah. But I remember you telling me that story though. I remember thinking, because I know what it's like. Sometimes we do things and everyone does this in life. And we want this big hoo-ha. I used to be like when I was coaching years ago when I first started, somebody gets some results. I'd want like a high five and like, we do want this gratification sometimes, don't we? But a lot of things that benefit us in life, you have to find your own gratification almost, don't you? But I imagined you in that desert, covered in your army stuff, your white t-shirt, getting back to your hotel.
Listen, man, you should have seen me. It's like literally, I don't know. Like, look, I don't know. Can you see my arm now? See that mark there? That's not from the sun now. I shit you not. That's from 2 years ago. Like, I have lines on my body that were exposed, and like, I mean, it will not go away. It's like fucking burnt into me.
So, oh man, that cracked me up. But the military, it is like that. The military, it's like, good job, well done. What do you want? A pat on the back? You did your job. Off you go. Great.
It's we're all a little soft. Like, let's be honest, there, right now. Some people are softer than others, but it's the same crack. It's like, and I'm sure if Ben was here, he'd tell the same thing. It's like, in martial arts or in boxing or fighting, it's like, I got in there and I fought somebody, like, so big whip. That's what we do. Where, your average person, and especially in society where it's like everybody's a winner, everybody gets a medal, we kind of expect that even in work. It's like, we're a little bit too PC. We're a little bit soft on ourselves. And sometimes we just need to toughen up a little bit.
Yeah, true. So coming back to this, folks, the point I'm trying to make, I hope you find some value in that, because there's some big lessons there. No shit. If you're looking, it's not just about finishing some big physical thing. When you're talking about not always focusing on the end and actually finding value in just grinding yourself and where you're at, that's a big thing. Taking care of that, taking care of the stuff that needs doing, not getting caught in the future. That's a big deal. And I think everyone is capable of more. There's a load of good lessons there, but the thing I want to talk about is the consistency of the habits, right? If there's something that I think, if I could drastically improve in anyone, it is the that will drastically improve anyone's life, is being consistent in the things that help us. No shit. It's like business, body, mind. If you can be consistent in the things you're doing that help, you'll get better results. I think inconsistency is the biggest killer of progress in a lot of cases. So I know you've done a lot of stuff with habits and stuff. What is your go-to for getting more consistent with stuff? So we're not going to talk about specific habits, as in like, oh, you should be doing this for your mind, because we kind of cover that all the time. But how do people do consistently what they know they should do but don't? I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, so I think the first two things is like I've been around all sorts of people in business, some very successful people in fitness or athletics, some very successful people. I remember sitting in a room once and looking around the room, and it was $25,000 to sit in this room. So it's full of people. And I was looking around going, do you know what? Like, these dudes are not too much different than me. Like, they are in the sense that they were making millions and I wasn't. And then this one dude got up and he was like, what he was selling was $1 billion. 1 billion, like not millions, 1 billion. And I was looking at him, and the realization that I had is the main difference between these people is their ability to be consistent and their ability to act fast. So when they see something that works, they do it straight away. Me and you might think about it, talk about it, take a few days, take a few weeks, take a few years. They do it like in seconds, and then they keep doing it till it doesn't work anymore. So let's roll it back then and talk about little habits for a second. And really,
the consistency thing, yeah.
So like we kind of say, what is a habit? So a habit is an action that we repeatedly do over and over. And, some habits serve us to get us closer to our goal. Some habits pull us away from our goal. But there's only 3 ways to change a habit, okay? So the first way is to have an epiphany. It's like something big happens. That situation where as a trainer, somebody rings you up and they're like, something happened in my family and I need to lose weight. There's a big epiphany. Or, in a mindset situation, maybe something happened and people are like, this needs to change. My partner left me and I was in love with them, but I kept wrecking the relationship. So some sort of epiphany. Yeah. Now listen, we can't really make that happen. The second thing is environment. If you change the environment that you're in, your behavior within the environment changes. Now, we can do things to engineer our environment, but we might get into that a little bit in a few minutes. But the number one thing that we can do, and anybody can do it straight away, is take the behavior and make it much smaller. Because if something is really big, the size of it is what stops us from taking action. So if we can make it tiny, okay, we can take action straight away. And we've got to remember when it comes to habits that people think that, it takes 21 days to change a habit, 66 days to change a habit. That's all BS. What will get somebody to change a habit is the emotion they associate with it. The stronger the emotion, both positive or negative, the more likely that habit is to continue on in a positive or negative fashion. So it's all about emotions, all right? So what I want to do is give you a little 3-step formula for creating a habit. So you could, like, if you had a pen and paper, guys, or you can watch this back, you could take this down, all right? If you want any more information, get on to Simon. He'll give it to me. We good, Simon?
Yeah, I'm going to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the questions on the screen. I can bring it up on the screen.
Yeah, well, let's do this ABC, and then any questions we'll...
Sorry, what I meant was your thing you're going to bring up. I'll put it on the screen from.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to explain it, all right? So here it is here. It's like, a little ABC on how to make any habit stick, all right? So the first thing we want to do is, there's 3 parts to this. So the first part is to have an anchor moment, and I'll explain each of these in a second. The next part is to make the behavior really small, and then the third part is to have a celebration, okay? So this is the sentence. After I, anchor moment, I'll explain this in a second, I will do behavior, which is tiny, and then I will celebrate with a particular action. So let me explain this to you. The reason we need an anchor moment is because there's already stuff that we do all the time. So if we can attach our new behavior onto that thing, we've got a cue, okay? Then after that is, when we want to think, where does that cue come up? So a lot of people, an easy one for me to do, let's say if I wanted to do a breathing exercise or meditate, I would say, after I brush my teeth in the morning, I will meditate for 1 minute, or I will journal for 1 minute, or I will write one sentence, okay? And then I will celebrate. So the celebration is the bit that a lot of people miss out on because they go, I feel a bit stupid doing that, especially me, like, guys, I feel a bit stupid doing that. But the celebration, the way I see it is like this. Do you know when you're sitting on a chair and you throw a piece of paper, you roll up a piece of tinfoil or paper, you throw it into the bin and it goes whoosh, and you feel like you're Michael Jordan? What do you do? For me, it's probably like, yes! That's the celebration you want. Because that makes you feel good. And when you feel good, you're more likely to want to repeat that behavior or action.
Yeah, 100%. And that's probably down to some as simple as, I know for a fact that, you know, when you feel quite an elevated emotion, your brain pays attention to what caused it.
Exactly. And then you start seeking that thing out again.
Yeah, and it works the other way. If something changes how you feel in a real horrible way, your brain pays attention and you have a negative association with that. It's like them people, that person, that thing. And if you think about them, you feel the emotion again. And that's exactly why that works. If you can, that's brilliant. That celebration is brilliant, and raising your own elevated emotion.
The thing here is that most people will turn around and say, it sounds a bit stupid. How can, you know, writing one sentence do anything? This thing is to actually start the habit. It's to get you started into it. And then you can let it mushroom and expand, or you can layer things on top of that as much as you want. So if we were to look at this and say, you know, you're working with somebody and they're like, I really should exercise more. All right, well, okay, what are we going to do? You know, probably walking would be good, wouldn't it? Yeah, but you never go walking. All right, so listen, let's bring it back a little bit. So can we get you to your front door? Yeah, well, that doesn't seem too bad. All right, so let's bring it back another bit. Can we put your shoes somewhere that you're going to see them? Yeah, that's not too bad. Can you put the shoes on? Yes. So it could be, listen, a woman, every night she cooks the dinner. She puts everything in the dishwasher. As I close the dishwasher, I put on my walking shoes. Then I celebrate. She's got the shoes on. She feels good about it. She's going to go for the walk. Or a couple just get her to the front door. And I know it sounds silly, but when you get to the front door, you go walking. The problem is not that we don't want to do things. The problem is we don't start the things that we want to do.
And it comes back to the point too you made in your Kokoro camp. That comes back down to thinking about flipping out, I've got to do that exercise, is getting caught up in the future. But knowing that when you close the door, bam, I put my shoes on, bam, you're always in, you're counting to 10. You know, that's your counting to 10. Yeah, exactly. Boom, boom. I'm just I'm in the step. I'm in the step. I'm in the step.
Yeah. And really, we look at something that's just going to spill over into other areas of people's lives. And it seems so simple that a lot of people will watch this and go, do it. Do it for 5 days and see what happens.
But, you know, big observation I know I've had is anyone that's good at anything, say this all the time in our Unbreakable Academy and that if people on here listening to this, will know, they get bored of me saying it. I'm like, you must master the basics. Anyone who's in great shape has stuck to something and done it consistently. Anyone who's in great mental shape, they don't have these mad out there habits. They've mastered simple, effective practices. You know, it's the same in a relationship. Somebody who has a great relationship you look at, they're not doing grand things all the time. They do the basics to communication really well. I think people overlook it. When I learned to meditate, I was taught to sit for a minute. I tell this story all the time, a minute a day. And I was like, what a load of bullshit. A minute a day. What's that going to do for me? A minute a day. I could do more than that. A minute a day. But my only job was to clear a space, prepare it, and sit for a minute.
Yeah. And really, what these guys call this is like a seed. And you know what happens if you plant the seed and you fertilize it and you water it, the seed grows. The seed grows into a tree.
10 years later, you know, I'm sat in programs where people are measuring my brain waves and stuff, you know. I'm meditating for 20, 30 minutes a day. But you don't get to that point unless you sit for a minute.
Exactly. And I think a part on this behavior, and this is where a lot of people go wrong. And you know what? I'm going to put my hands up here and say the fitness industry, because that's, where that's, I suppose, my avenue into coaching a lot of people is through the fitness industry. The fitness industry has done a woeful job at helping people here. So we're good at exercise. We're reasonably good at, prescribing nutrition. That doesn't mean we're good at helping people with nutrition. We are woeful when it comes to behavior change and habits. And really, when we think about behavior, this is where we break down. We need some sort of prompt or cue. In order for a behavior to happen, we need a prompt or a cue, we need the ability, and we need motivation. So when we're looking at a behavior as a coach, we've got to say, has the person got an appropriate prompt? The shoes on the floor, the closing of the door, that can be a prompt. Has the person got the ability? Like, can they actually walk, in that scenario? And then have they got the motivation? And if we can find where the person sits on these things, we can give them more ability, we can help them with motivation, or we can help them with a prompt to get the right behavior.
I love that. When you think about prompts, people say to Mick again and Breakable, I always say, what do you do every morning, Si? Well, I have a cup of tea first before I do anything.
Yeah.
But that is a massive prompt for me, because as soon as I get my cup of tea, I sit with my journal.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
Tea, journal sets an excellent.
That goes back to your environment. So that's an anchor within your environment. If you took that tea away for whatever reason, you opened up the press and there was no tea bags, the electricity wasn't on, chances are you might miss that journaling bit. Now, if you've been doing it for so long, you might get away with it, but you can see how a lot of people break down when their environment changes. And another way to look at this would be that within any behavior, we've got a cue or a prompt, we've got a craving or a wanting to do something, we've got a response to that, and then we've got a reward. So it could be like, listen, I open up the fridge and I see a bar of chocolate. It's like, ooh, chocolate. And then, I'm saying, oh, that might taste nice. And then my response is I take it out and I open it. Now, usually my response will be I look at it a few times and close it, and then, come back and forth and kind of wrestle with myself. And then I eat it and it feels good, all right? So if I wanted to change that action there, all I can do is just change the cue. I can break up any of those things. But if I can change the cue by changing my environment and just take that chocolate and put it somewhere where I don't see it, I'm not going to eat it.
Yeah. Yeah. Environment is crucial for anything. Again, we'll always, certainly for me, we have this challenge in Unbreakable. I'll tell you about it. It's like you got to just sit in silence. Go somewhere and sit in silence for 20 minutes, 10 minutes. Just sit with your thoughts. And we teach people how to do this strategically. But people can go do that in a beautiful environment. I can go out there and sit in my field and just beautiful, a blue sky, and my thoughts are great. If you challenge someone to sit in a place they don't like with their own, it's so much different, because everything in our environment has an emotional attachment, right? We have emotional attachments to everything, don't we? And if your environment's full of all these things that trigger crappy emotion in you, you're going to take bad actions. It's hard. It's hard to out-act your environment. It's a skill. It really is. And if you can improve your environment, then you've got to improve it, right?
I think as well, we don't appreciate, we think that we're really clever and, we're up ahead at the top of the food chain, we're human beings, and we don't take into account how much of our actions and behaviors are coming on a subconscious level. And the environment is a huge part to play in that. So like an example could be, if I give you a bigger plate, like if I was to go into your house and you had 9-inch plates, and as to take them out and put 12-inch plates in, it's like 33% bigger. You will eat 33% more food off of those plates. That's proven time and time again. So, I mean, if you're 33% more food and you don't increase your activity levels, of course that's going to have an effect on you. The same way, if we're talking purely mindset, if you're putting yourself into an environment that is, you're around the wrong people, the environment is set up in such a way that stresses you, you're going to run into trouble. And all the meditation in the world is not going to change that environment.
No, and this is perfectly, because everyone's in lockdown, and I would say this, even your social media environment is massive. So many people come Unbreakable, and I'll just be like, right, you've got to leave some of these groups you're in. You're in these groups, you're always talking about the problem and the thing, and then that cues you to go look at more things, and you spend your whole time on your social media virtual world in places, just because you're not there physically, you're there mentally. That don't help you. Find uplifting environments, find environments that are moving you forward, find information that moves you forward. But we all get caught in that, in the groups where everyone just moans and talks about how hard it is. And that might make you feel better. Oh, it makes me feel better. But it keeps you stuck. It keeps you it basically normalizes the struggle when you need to be normalizing the solution and what you want. Yeah. And environment is not just, in our modern world, environment isn't just your house, your home. It's like, what's your virtual environment like?
Maybe even more so. Maybe even more so. And it's like this whole idea. Listen, if you don't control what you're thinking about, I think you might have said this, Simon, but it's definitely out there. Listen, if you don't control what you're thinking about, somebody else is going to control it. So
I said that.
If you're looking on this phone and, you haven't got something which you're thinking about or a way of thinking, this is going to start filtering in there into your head.
100%. If you can't control your awareness, something is.
Yeah.
Just put it that way. If you aren't controlling what you look at, something is. You're always looking at something mentally. So if we're not controlling our awareness, someone is, something is, the news, a conspiracy, whatever, your mate, your 5G, your past, your worry. We got to learn to nail that in. So I think that's wonderful. What was the cue again, Jay? What was the 3 steps? Just read it out for me, because I liked it. But
are we talking about the behavior here? So we've got prompt, we've got ability, and we have got motivation. But within
what was that sentence you used? What was the ABC thing you used? I like that. Okay.
So after and you've got an anchor moment, I will, new behavior, which must be tiny. It's got to take you like 10 seconds to do. Okay, tiny. So whatever you're thinking you want to do, keep breaking it down till it's stupidly small. And then baby's just running in here. And then the last, get up and celebrate. Now listen, if you leave out the celebration, you're not doing this. It has to be, the celebration has to be there. And just think, when you're thinking about the celebration, when do you feel good? When do you shine on the inside? It's like, if we're talking to Ben, he probably has a combination. It's like he slips underneath a punch, boom! And it's like, oh, that was a good one. If you're a golfer, it's like, oh, that was a great shot. That's the feeling you're trying to recreate.
Love that. And I just love that. And the thing I would say about this before, I always find this: we pick bits we like sometimes of the system, and we just don't do bits we don't like. But the thing to understand then is you're not doing it. I said to people, how did you get on with the nighttime ritual? Oh, yeah, great, man. Did you? Well, I didn't do the journal bit, but I did the breathing. Well, you didn't do it then, did you? As blunt as I can be. There's otherwise it would just be the one thing.
Yeah.
It's just I would just say do the one thing, not the 2 things.
Yeah. The
2 things are important. And I think that's the same with all systems. We pick the bits we like, the bits are uncomfortable. We go, nah. And something I would say, I know you got to go and all that sort of stuff, but how often do we all do this? Oh, I couldn't perform that habit. I just couldn't get it done. I'm going to make it more extreme. I'm going to make it harder. I wanted to meditate. I couldn't manage it for 10 minutes. Now I'm trying to meditate for 40 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Why?
It's kind of like, if the problem with people is, if you think about this, when we're picking anything to do, and again, I always relate it back to fitness because I think most people understand this, but on one axis, you've got sustainability, and on the other axis, you've got consistency. So consistency is like, I'm doing it, every day, twice a day, 3 times a day, whatever it is. And sustainability, it's quite similar, but it's like, can I do this for the long haul? So it's like, I'm going to go and run a marathon, and, then 4 weeks later, like your Achilles is blown up and you don't run again for 3 years. It's like, dude, just go for a walk, walk forever and then build it up. But again, it comes back to society. We're entering into a society that people can have what they want when they want it. We can buy things, we can buy more cars, buy more clothes, buy. But there's some things that you just cannot buy. You can't buy mental health. There's no pill, or there's no, thing I can buy there. Fitness. So there's certain things that we just have to work for, and it's those things that we have to work for, I think, is where most people fall down.
Yeah, definitely. And I would always say this, minimum effect. I think we all get caught up thinking, if I want bigger results, my actions have to be massive. I have to minimum effective dose. I mean, I used to train people physically back in the day. I wasn't nowhere near as proficient as you guys. I was half decent. I found what I was good at down the line. But it's, even in our world, minimum effective dose. Someone comes in for 30 days. We don't teach them to meditate how people in our academy meditate. It's minimum effective dose. Just get breathing. Just get practicing breathing. We should take that. If that's how I would say all coaches should be, minimum effective dose. If you go to a doctor and you've got a headache, he doesn't say, "Oh, mate, yeah, let's operate on you. Let's smash some flipping morphine in you." It's like, yeah, take some paracetamol or something.
Yeah, you'll be all right.
You'll be all right. Yeah. You know, we don't just go morphine numbs all pain. Fuck it. Let's do that. Hopefully. And it's the same with fitness and health and mindset. It's like, where are you at? Do a little bit better. That's enough. Until that's easy, do a bit better.
The problem is, it's like, you know, with doctors and with trainers, we allow, and you think doctors don't do this, but they do. We allow the client or the patient to nearly dictate to us what's going on. And it's like, you think doctors don't do that? Well, why do pharmaceutical companies, you know, put out advertising to me and you about certain pharmaceuticals? Because they know you'll go to your doctor and say, "Hey, can I have those things? You know, they're really good. Like, can I have those pills?" They know that you will do that. So the doctor goes, "Oh shit, maybe I will give them it." And the same for us. Like, people want peace, and it's like the trainer gives them what they want instead of giving them what they need.
And also, it's a little bit ego. We try and impress people, and I think as you get older as a coach, we're talking about coaching now, but I've certainly learned, you've got to reining people in is one of the hardest things. I'd always say, and the thing I'd like to touch upon, just from Kokoro, you just finished. Like, you finished. You stayed in the game. If people just had that mentality around what we were trying, I'm just going to stay in the game. I know we build our whole approach around that. Let's keep as many people. Let's make sure they're all here at the end of 30 days and they'll see some progress. Yeah. My job is to keep them in the game. Let's keep you in the game. And I think people quit. We get this false illusion. Oh, they have a big week of something, then don't do anything for a few days, big week. And that's never going to get you the results of daily, consistent, small habits.
But again, it goes back to what you're saying there. You know, when I was doing that event, and even now when I'm training, I'll say to myself, like, I never do the maximum. I'll say, what is the minimum I can do here that these guys aren't going to turn around and start shouting at me? You know, if we're all running, I'm not going to be last. I don't need to be first, but I'm not going to be last. And eventually, because what you're doing is you're keeping a little in reserve. So for when you do need it, you have another gear to go, you know?
And I think, again, for anyone watching this, sometimes you got to leave yourself wanting a little bit more sometimes. That's a nice way to look at it. Like, leave yourself wanting a bit more, you know? There'll be days you can push a bit harder, of course, but if you have your daily routine set up quite basic and it's very simple and you think, I can do this, and mind is the same. Anything mindset-wise is the same. Just start with something you can do until it becomes quite simple, and then do a little bit more. Just leave yourself wanting a bit more. We go the other way. I'm all in, I'm all out. I'm all in, I'm all out. I'm a failure. And the more you set yourself up to fail, the more you feel like a failure, and that robs people of belief. It's like every time you say, I'm going to do this massive thing, don't do it, you break a bit of self-belief, like a relationship. If I kept saying to Jay, I'm going to do this, Jay, and he was my best mate, and I never did it, Jay would be like, oh, fuck, sorry, he never does it. Whatever. He's a prick. That's how we treat ourselves. We keep breaking promises and then go, I'm a prick. And fuck it. Yeah. So keeping promises is simple. So, Jay, is there anything you want to add before you get out of here? I've kept you an hour, mate. I'm sorry, but I'm just ashamed Ben couldn't be here. Ben's in.
No, listen, I suppose the only thing I'd say to people, if they do have questions, or, you know, you're watching this back later on, or whether you're watching it live, if something sparks off in your head, put a question in there and we'll jump on and comment and see if we can answer them for you. And again, that's it, my man. Yeah,
and mate, I appreciate you coming on. It's been a blast. I mean, we've done a few things together, but, you know, it's been a blast. And I'll tell you what, the habit thing you spoke about, the sentence, that is a beauty. And so I'm pretty sure Unbreakable folks, you'll be seeing that come in the next week or so. But yeah, mate, thank you so much for your time. I'm just going to end this live, folks. If you got something from this, please share it up. You know, do something with it. It's on my page. It's in a few different groups, but share it up. You know, tag someone in it maybe or whatever. But just, you know, show the love. We'll be back here next week. Doing some other stuff. So yeah, thank you very much, you guys. And I'm going to plug something here for me. We have a free 7-day challenge kicking on. If you are not in our free 7-day challenge and you like these feeds, what are you doing? Apart from giving me shit, probably just watching it to give me shit. Like, jump in, you know, drop us a message and say, what's this free 7-day challenge? We'll be teaching you stuff like this. Maybe Jay will come and guest for me in there, one live 10 minutes. But we'll be doing loads of stuff like this. Get your ass in there. It's free. And upgrade your mind and your body and your flipping thinking and your emotions. Come and do it. On that note, mate, I'll catch you later. Right, I can find the end broadcaster, mate. End the broadcast.